All right, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of a long load time for first game of the day, but I'm sure you'll all agree it's going to be one that's definitely worth it, as we have... Oh, there we go, a little bit of lag and immediate leave. Thank you so much for that. But we have spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, ladies and gentlemen, the champion of Warcraft 3 many, many times over, a prolific StarCraft 2 player who effectively needs no introduction whatsoever. The Protoss, of course, in the bottom left, spawning in the red colors, it is Grubby. He's going to be going up against one of the most feared Zerg players in the United Kingdom. Really, really huge rise through the ranks here of late. Can he build on his recent great tournament results with a win here in this best of 7 show match? We'll find out in just a moment. Representing Team Dignitas, we have JonnyREcco. So both of these players, of course, very, very eager to show their mettle ahead of tournaments that are going on at a little bit of a later stage this year. Grubby 4-0 at the moment in head-to-head meetings. Of course, all 4 of those games coming at IEM Cologne. The question is whether JonnyREcco will be able to turn that trend around. And of course, if he didn't think he could do it, well, then he wouldn't be here in the first place. This is going to be a match of pretty cool proportions indeed. Grubby going to be putting down his forge behind his mineral line. Now, this is quite interesting. We don't see that many Protosses do this early on in the game. We often see the forges used at the front of the base to try and forge fast expand by using that as part of the wall, but Grubby preferring to use his forge in the back of his mineral line so that it doesn't accidentally get picked off later on in the game. He prefers to use his other buildings to wall off. So for all intents and purposes, from what we've seen to date, Grubby still does intend on expanding out of this, but wants to keep his tech structures in a place that's a little bit less accessible to the enemy. In the meantime, JonnyREcco has gone for his pool. His hatch is now getting put down as well. So playing a very, very standard game so far. Nothing too much to note. Neither player is taking any gases yet, and Grubby puts down the Nexus at his natural expansion. In the meantime, we have a Queen popping out now. Just 2 Zerglings being popping out here for JonnyREcco. We see a lot of Zergs actually go with 4-lings in this matchup, and the reason 4-lings are often preferred to 2 is because 2 Zerglings can't actually destroy a pylon faster than it's being built. So when you go for a really quick third hatch and you don't want probes blocking it, for example, it's much more useful to have 4-lings rather than 2 out on the field. But none of that is actually going on in this particular game. We see that the 2-lings are indeed sufficient to take away the power of this probe here to try and put down a pylon at the third base. That's just not going to happen because the probe's already on half health, and JonnyREcco should be able to sneak this drone in and get the hatch down without any problems whatsoever coming in from Grubby. And in fact, this probe needs to be very, very careful indeed. Only down to 7 hit points, and now too, it might not actually make the journey home here. Is he going to be able to recharge his shields in time? And I'm afraid the answer is no. So the scouting probe from Grubby actually going down early on here, and that's a pretty big deal because he won't be able to get a forward pylon down on the map once JonnyREcco gets map control and can see where all of these probes are likely to go. Poking up the ramp a bit now is JonnyREcco, just wanting to see exactly what's up there. Sees that the cannon's already completed and deciding the better of it at the moment. Cybernetics core also down and trying to be part of the wall off, and it looks like a probe is poised here to put another building down very shortly as well. Probe still being chrono boosted here from Grubby, and he's also got a +1 on the way as well. In the meantime, JonnyREcco's third is nearly done at this point in time. Still just macroing up, getting a lot of drones as quickly as he can. More queens coming out for him as well. We actually see the queen in his natural expansion going towards a third base. JonnyREcco just going to be scouting into the natural expansion with the Overlord as well, so knows the gas time. He's on the 3rd and 4th gas, of course. We have got 2 gases already taken in the main from Grubby, but JonnyREcco can assume that some gas has been taken if a forge has gone down, and a cybernetics core, of course, is there as well. And now JonnyREcco is just going to go back home, knows that he has map control, moves back with his lings, and is going to be taking it down the rocks between his natural expansion and his third base. Grubby sending a zealot out into the middle of the map, looking like, ooh, JonnyREcco getting there just in time to save that Zergling, but Grubby going to be asserting his map control as he sends another scouting probe out via the left-hand side of the map, and I don't think that Overlord saw the probe. It came very, very close, but he did not indeed. Where is this probe going to be going? He's actually going straight for the third base, wanting to make sure that that base is in fact down, and that there isn't any sort of two-base shenaniganry going here from JonnyREcco's point of view. Grubby sees the creep at the third base, immediately runs back with his probe. Now he's going to be searching for a safe place to put down his forward pylon, but Grubby has now taken his third base, so he's put down that Nexus relatively quickly here, and JonnyREcco has seen that with the Overlord that just exploded between his main base and the third, and his response at the moment, 10 drones. He is just going to go up to the largest possible economy he can muster right now, and he's just started his lair as well. So instead of going for some sort of really quick timing, seeing that the third base for Grubby has just gone down, JonnyREcco opting instead to go for the macro up approach, and I really like this from him as well. He's taking 3 gases at the moment, so he's going to be going up to a total of, I think, all 6 of his gases very, very shortly indeed. So that layer tech is certainly going to show us something very, very soon. We have the Evo chamber coming up in the main base as well. One thing I do want to note from JonnyREcco is that he's spreading his creep outwards in his base, but he doesn't really have much of a SimCity at his choke point. We haven't seen the Evo chambers drop down on the creep at the top of that ramp. We haven't seen a spine crawler or 2 go down. He's using all of his minerals right now to drone up and to tech up. And he's not focusing so much on the SimCity, and I presume this is just a reaction here to the third base being taken early from Grubby. He wants to make sure that he can power up as quickly as he can so that he can attempt to deny one of those bases a little bit later on in the game. Grubby, though, walling off that third base location with a pylon, 2 warp gates, and a photon cannon as well. Relatively safe unless that pylon gets taken out, so you might want to watch for that in the near future. JonnyREcco still going to be scouting around with a bunch of lings here. It looks like another Overlord goes kaput in the main base, but not before he sees a lot more gateways going down. So JonnyREcco sees a potential timing here from Grubby, who has gone up to 6, 7, 8 gateways, ladies and gentlemen, on 3 base at the moment, and he is chrono boosting +1 ground armor, so this could be a 1-1 timing from him. But in the meantime, JonnyREcco continuing to try and abuse the fact that Grubby went for an early third base. He's actually going to be putting down an expansion on the top left-hand corner of the map without Grubby's knowledge, and that forward pylon getting taken down near the 4th base location. So critical for JonnyREcco. He does not want reinforcements to come into this army nearly as quickly as he would like, and here we go. The first force fields go off. Not the best force fields from Grubby, admittedly, because he doesn't actually trap too many lings. A lot of that sentry energy has gone, but there are quite a lot of them as well. JonnyREcco going to be going for a counterattack with a bunch of these lings by the looks of it, but still leaving a couple home and making Grubby force him to make a bit of a decision as to exactly where he wants to go with this army. Those lings, though, unfortunately running into a couple of zealots and will be meeting the rest of the main army as well, as Grubby now continues his march across the map, completely oblivious to the 4th base in the top left corner, but it's not mining yet. It's still only 3/4 of the way done, so JonnyREcco cannot yet make that base count. He has to try and hold here. 136 supply to 115. Grubby completely sealing up the 3rd base location now, trying to pick off as many of these links as he can. JonnyREcco stalling for time, trying to see how many Mutalisks he can come out with the Spire that has completed inside of the main base right here. He has 8 of them on the way, and he needs to try and stop this 3rd base from going down. The Queen immediately going down for JonnyREcco. The counterattack now moving out through the center of the map. JonnyREcco has decided that now is the time, but the 3rd base looking like it's definitely going to go down here. There are just way too many gateway units here for JonnyREcco to do too much about. The 4th base is up, but not mining in the top left position, so that's not going to matter too much at the moment, and Grubby just leaving a single zealot to polish off that hatchery while he moves straight in for the kill at the natural expansion. Force fielding off the natural choke as well to prevent any more reinforcements coming in. JonnyREcco desperately putting down some spine crawlers now, and he has a lot of Mutalisks up here to try and pick off these stalkers one at a time, but the lings and the roaches can't get back in. The force fields are just too good from Grubby at the moment. JonnyREcco is forced to directly engage with the Mutalisks. He is losing so many of them, but now the force fields appear to have run out. The rest of the lings and roaches are able to pop up the ramp now, and it looks like JonnyREcco is going to be able to hold this. 109 supply versus 111 at the moment. JonnyREcco on 53 workers to 65, so Grubby has done a lot of economic damage, but his entire army has effectively been forfeited. He's focusing down a couple more Mutalisks before he hauls tail, but he's only got a couple of stalkers and a zealot right now, and his forward pylon is quite far away thanks to JonnyREcco's efforts on stalling them a little bit early. Now, those roaches don't actually have glial reconstitution, so they're actually marching across quite slowly at the moment, but the lings and the mutas should be able to clean this up, and the forward pylon is indeed going to get spotted, so JonnyREcco will be able to take that out. Does Grubby know about the top left base yet? No, he does not, and this is JonnyREcco's opportunity to try and get back into this game economically. In the meantime, we see JonnyREcco still hanging around, unable to break through either of these front bases, of course, with those Ling run-bys a little bit earlier on, but instead just going to be moving out all across the map to look for any remaining forward pylons, and he does actually spot this one on the left, and once this pylon goes down, actually, Grubby will have no forward pylons left on JonnyREcco's half of the map, so that means our Zerg player here will be able to regain complete map control, and he won't have to worry about any sort of prodding from Grubby doing any sort of damage with forward pylons warping in units very, very close to where the army currently is. Good blink from Grubby, by the way, who now does show that to JonnyREcco to prevent the Mutalisks from doing too much damage at the natural expansion. He's saying, look, I've got blink, you don't even want to try and do this, and JonnyREcco has complied with it and is going to be backing off at this time. 4 more gateways going down now for Grubby, and we have a Warp Prism exiting the base, his third base, I believe, on the right-hand side there. And are the Mutas going to... Oh, the Mutas catch the Warp Prism, and this is absolutely huge. So all of the harassment from Grubby is going to get shut down now from JonnyREcco, who now takes a 20 supply lead. Really, really good stuff coming out of him there. The Ling's going to clean up the rest of those Zealots, and now Grubby deciding now is the time to try and pick up as much of this army as he can. Those Roaches still not able to get away from the Stalkers in time, so a lot of them actually go down here, but we have the Mutas coming into the third base location now, sees that the other Warp Gates are about to come in, so Grubby might be going for a bit of a timing here, and oh dear, a couple more Mutas going down to the excellent micro of Grubby, making sure his units are in the correct locations at the correct times. That Observer seeing a lot of those Mutalisks, and the Stalkers following up by picking a couple of them off. Really good stuff coming out of him, but still no glial reconstitution coming out of JonnyREcco. This could be a bit of a mistake for him. I'm wondering why it hasn't been researched yet. Another Warp Prism coming in from Grubby, and another offensive Lincoln in the center of the map, going to try and take out a bunch of these Roaches and the Zerglings as well. +1 flyer attack about to complete too for JonnyREcco, so he is looking to commit to these Mutalisks for at least a little bit of time. Still got 4 more on the way, but Grubby's decided now is going to be the time for a full frontal assault. The number of workers are 68 to 66 in favor of JonnyREcco at the moment, who is on 4 base, only mining gas from the top left at the moment. Grubby now moving into the natural expansion. JonnyREcco, though, doing a lot of damage at the wall at the natural. Great force field from Grubby, but it's not going to be able to hold forever because the Mutalisks are able to completely annihilate everything behind the lines here, and it looks like we have a bit of a counter-offensive from both sides, but JonnyREcco getting cut off there. We have some gateway units moving back from Grubby to try and counter these Mutalisks, but in the meantime, there are still a decent number of Stalkers inside JonnyREcco's base, and it looks like that is going to be a bit too much. The follow-up gateway push from Grubby earns him the first game in this best-of-7 series.